Hello and welcome back to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk, and today we are doing a video for my top 5 turn-based strategy games of all time. Now, for anyone familiar with the channel, turn-based strategy games play an important role on my channel. I play them an awful lot, do a number of different playthroughs, tips and tricks and all that kind of thing, and they are honestly possibly my favorite genre of all time. So this video is about my top 5 strategy games of all time. Let me know down in the comments if your favorite fails to make my list, and if you think yours is better than my top 5, let me know as well down in the comments. And of course, if this is the type of video that you want to see, don't forget to hit that like button, and of course subscribe to the channel. It helps us out so much and it's really appreciated. But enough of all this, let's get stuck into the video. Up and in 5th place, we have none other than Disciples Liberation. I absolutely loved my time playing this game. I put tons of it on the channel. Calypso Media was very happy with the review that I happened to publish for this and posted it out everywhere as well. So this is a game that I absolutely love. This is also my first shot at a Disciples game. I had never played a Disciples game before. Liberation apparently plays very different to other Disciple games. Personally, I absolutely loved it. Now, this game is a dark fantasy. You take on the role of one of these characters going through and kind of going face to face with the gods of the era. You also have a chance to ally yourself with different factions throughout the game, recruiting those factions onto your team and building up an army in which you can then use to conquer the entire game. There's also really good leveling in this game, and you can like change Aviana and how you want her to be, whether you want her to be, you know, sword and shield type of Aviana, or if you want to go down the magic route. But on top of that, this is a really good turn-based strategy game. It is a hexagon grid type of combat. It's kind of rinse and repeat in a sense that, you know, you don't get too much different. Most of the battles do look the same. It does really depend on the team that you pull out, of course. But I do quite like that there's different elements in the area. You have to, you know, worry about what terrain you're walking on, what kind of magic power-ups you are picking up, the different types of strategies when it comes to setting up your army, as opposed to, you know, what your army does versus what you're going to be up against, and finding just the perfect combo to take them out, sometimes in one shot. I didn't find this game was hard enough when I very first started. Since release, it did get a power up and it's become harder now. And quite frankly, guys, it's just a game I would recommend. If you've never played Disciples Liberation, it can be a little bit costly, but if you find it on sale, pick it up and have a go. Unfortunately, this game isn't on Game Pass. I think it would really benefit from being on Game Pass because more players would come. There's also a multiplayer as well. Unfortunately, the multiplayer is kind of shocking because just not enough people are playing this game. So if you are a Disciples Liberation fan, or you're thinking about picking it up, let me know. Join the Discord. The link for that will be down in the description, and come and say hi. Tell me you want a multiplayer game and I'll be happy to show you the ropes and beat you, because I absolutely adore this game. But yeah, 5th place, Disciples Liberation. Up in 4th place, should surprise nobody that it actually made the list, is Empire of Sin. This game I have covered time and time again on the channel. I absolutely love it. Basically, you take on a mob boss in Chicago Prohibition era and hoping to take over the whole of Chicago, battling it out against the other bosses, iconic bosses such as Al Capone, you know, building up your booze empire, hiring other gangsters, getting yourself an underboss, taking on safe houses, and just annihilating the competition. This is kind of a Monopoly game, you know. You pick a boss, you take over Chicago. You can do that in a couple hours, really, a few hours. And then you rinse and repeat, you know, pick another boss and do exactly the same. I'm currently doing a Lone Wolf playthrough. You'll find that on the channel at the moment if you're interested in more gameplay for this game. all in all, Empire of Sin started out with a lot of bugs. It did get a massive overhaul, a lot of bug fixes. It's not a perfect game by any means, but it's one that I just absolutely thoroughly enjoy. And with over 350 hours played in this game, it's fair to say that I would recommend it. It's also on sale an awful lot, and you can pick it up dirt cheap. And that's kind of why it makes at least a number 4 on my list. Now, breaking into the top 3 is none other than Wasteland 3. That's right, Wasteland 3 breaks into the top 3 of my turn-based combat list. This game, again, is another game that I covered extensively on the channel. It was actually the first game to actually do well on this channel. So if it wasn't for Wasteland 3, I don't know where Critically Clueless would be today. This game is an absolute beast of a game. It's a huge game. You can sink 60, 70 hours into a playthrough, especially with the DLCs that have been released for it. If you are a fan of Fallout, you know, the Fallout inspired games, some of the original creators of Fallout worked on Wasteland 3, and you can see that Fallout DNA dotted all around this game. The cutscenes are absolutely hilarious at times. There are some bizarre quests that you will be picking up, and there's some fruity things that you can definitely do in this game, as well as recruit other NPCs to join your forces, building up your own base, and having real world choices that will impact your game as you play through this story. The story alone is brilliant with this game. Absolutely outstanding. The turn-based combat, again, is really, really great. I love the way you level. I love the way you can choose to be, you know, to be a medic or a leader, or use flamethrowers or explosives, that kind of thing. There's really good character builds in this game, and something that I had a lot of fun to do with on my channel. Wasteland 3 is a boss of a game. I hope this goes on sale more often. I'd love to see more people play it. And in fact, it's probably a game that I'm going to pick up and play through again, possibly put more of it on my channel too. So if you're interested in seeing more Wasteland 3 content, don't forget to comment down below you want to see that playthrough or those videos, and I'll make sure that it actually happens. But yeah, Wasteland 3 had to make the top 3 on the list. And boy, do we have some doozies for the top 2. And that's right, in at number 2, we have none other than Divinity Original Sin 2. This game is so much fun. Talk about a complex RPG. This game is huge, has so much depth, and you really do have to think about your steps when you're playing through this game. From the very beginning, you are asked to create a character, and at first glance, you're thinking, this is kind of cool, I get to create my own character. I love games where you get to create your own character. And very quickly, maybe 2-3 hours in, you're kind of considering restarting the entire game because the character build that you've picked and just isn't going to cut it. This game mixes different elements that I haven't really seen in many other turn-based combat games. You have to really pay attention against the enemies that you're fighting, the elements that they're kind of, you know, strong or weak against. You have to pay really good attention to what's underneath your feet. For instance, you can cast certain things that will interact with the environment around you differently, giving you different buffs or debuffs on the actual field of battle. I love this game. It has an immense story, really good options for character customization, really good options for your own in-game choices, depending on what you pick, depends on what happens with, you know, the outcome of the certain quest that you pick up. There's a huge amount of side quests in this game, as well as the main story, which is phenomenal. By the way, I still haven't even completed this game despite spending so much time in this game. This is also one that you can play online co-op with as well. There's not many of these games kind of out there. I actually forgot to mention that Wasteland 3 is one of those games that you can do online co-op with. This game is also one that you can get a friend to come into your world. You can take over 2 and 2. You control 2, they control 2. You kind of go through the game that way, making those choices together. But yeah, for anyone that hasn't played this game, I would highly recommend it. Never has there been a better time to sink 100, 150 hours into Divinity Original Sin than 2022 with the absolute game drought that we're currently having. And with the current standard of games that we currently have in this list, it should be a surprise to no one that in number 1 we have XCOM 2. This one is War of the Chosen. It is a DLC version that I have downloaded. Guys, if you've never played XCOM and you like turn-based strategy games, what are you doing? This is the pinnacle of turn-based combat games. Every time I play a new version of these type of games, I always compare it to XCOM 2 because I just think that it done it so right. This is a very in-depth game, and it would take me an awful long time to just tell you just how in-depth this is. For example, with the current DLCs that are available for this game, if you have 2 people that are deployed in battle enough times, they will develop a bond together, a fondness for each other, maybe even romance it and say that they fall in love. If one of those 2 people gets wounded, gets killed even, the other one goes absolutely berserk. You can't control their actions. They are literally, heartbroken that this has happened to their best friend, to their lover. I love that about this game. I also love the fact that you could say that no 2 playthroughs are ever the same, in a sense that this game has a bit of RNG about it when it comes to War of the Chosen. You go up against a load of bosses. These bosses have like random rolls. The very first time you meet them in battle, they will roll some dice, and those perks that they have, they get both buffs and debuffs. They are unique to that roll, that turn. So I really love that about this game. It is incredibly in-depth. There is some base building. It isn't as good as I would like. I would like the base building personally to be better, but it's still adequate for me to get, sink my teeth into and take pride in what I've managed to achieve. I also love the fact that you can research different abilities, research different technologies, unlocking new weapons and armors and vehicles. Well, maybe not vehicles, it's more robots. But yeah, love that about this game. A lot of fun. Highly recommend it. Honestly, if you're into turn-based combat games, you've probably already played this, and so you know that it's the absolute GOAT. But guys, that is it from me. That is my countdown from 5 to 1 of the greatest turn-based combat games that I have played, that I would recommend to anyone who hasn't played these games as well. If your game didn't make my list, let me know down in the comments. I'd be very interested to know which game you think deserved to be on this list that just didn't quite make the cut for me. I know that there's a lot in this genre at the moment. It does seem to be making a little bit of a resurgence. There's so many turn-based combat games being released these days. Personally, I'm grateful for it. I love this kind of genre. I love these type of games, and so I'm glad to see so many of them being made today. But I've been a monk, we've been Critically Clueless, and I will see you guys in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy, and of course, happy gaming.